Welcome to All Hands, everybody. I'm really excited today. We've lined up an interview with Alan Ying, and I've known Alan for a couple of years, but for many of you, this will be new. And Alan has known KLAS for a long time. He's on our board, and I wanted to have a conversation that we can share with KLAS to get some of his thoughts and perspective. So, Alan, we've known each other for a couple of years, but you go way back with KLAS. Can you tell us a little bit about your history with KLAS, and maybe even a little bit about how your personal career story fits into that?
It was 25 years ago. I used to be a surgeon at Duke, and I started a software company. It was a healthcare IT company, and it was a classic story, alone in a garage on a milk crate. Eventually got lucky and landed some customers and received a little bit of funding just in time for the bubble to burst.
Yeah.
And the way that I came upon KLAS was we had a little bit of funding, and all competitors had a lot of funding, so we couldn't fight heavy combat with dollars. And we excelled at serving the customer. And so I got to know KLAS because they were the ones that were telling the truth.
Yeah.
And so we scored really well on KLAS. And that actually led us to surpass all our competitors because we could walk in and say, this is what the customers are saying.
Yeah.
And so that was initially how I got introduced to KLAS.
That's fantastic. And then your ownership journey. So when did you kind of go from being a vendor in healthcare, technology vendor, to being kind of part of the KLAS team?
There was a change in ownership about 15, 16 years ago. I'd sold my business to a public company. I'd run that company, and I was out of everything. So I was out of the market at that point. And at that point, KLAS was ascending in its growth and journey. And I think the way it worked back then was everyone had to agree. Everyone who had even one share had to agree on who they could sell shares to. And there was one particular owner or the shareholder who had too much that anyone could buy. They couldn't agree to anyone else. I believe that's how it went, except me, because they felt like the research they'd done on the company reflected favorably on me as a person.
Okay. Oh, that's terrific. So that work you did building your, technology solution back in the day kind of came back to speak highly. I mean, you delivered for your customers, you scored well in KLAS, and then the opportunity was to kind of join the team.
Yeah.
So how long have you been on the board?
It's been 16 years.
Wow.
16 years.
Okay. And I want to ask kind of a direct question. Why do you choose to be an owner of KLAS?
It was an easy call. So here's what I'd say. Back then and now it's the same. In business and in life, there are rare circumstances where you never have to worry about the character and effort of your counterparty and your partner. And I knew that I would never have to worry about the character and effort and intentions of Kent and Adam.
Yeah.
And that's super rare. And it's been true.
Yeah. I think back to my decision to join KLAS 3 years ago, not as an owner, but as an employee. And I had similar feelings of, I agree with the way they see these challenges in the world. And there's a trust that, I decided to place in the company. Let me ask you, as you look at KLAS now, where we are in 2024, what elements of who we are and kind of what we're good at is most important to our strategy? What does KLAS need to really focus on building?
I could give a wonkish answer, and I'll leave that to your management meetings. Culture and consistency are very difficult. I think Buffett says something about it takes a lifetime to build a reputation. It takes 5 minutes to lose it.
Yeah.
Culture and behavior and character and effort, all the positive attributes, those contribute to a fabric of a business that is very consistent and difficult to replicate, that KLAS has had for almost 30 years.
Yeah.
And trends change, technology changes, customers change, the world changes. And if you can keep good people and all the positive attributes of the character and integrity and culture, and apply it to the new problems that the world has to offer, that is the most important thing.
Awesome. What are some of the areas, Alan, that you see innovation as important to the future success of KLAS?
I think personally in all our lives, I'm not the same person I was when I was 20, when I was 30, when I was 40, when I was 50. While I think that I know what things will be like when I'm 60 or 70, the research has demonstrated that we're all very bad at predicting what we'll want in our future lives. I think that goes the same with markets and society. The people who've been here, like the number one words in the entire healthcare industry when I first became acquainted with KLAS was CPOE and EMR, which are terms that are taken for granted now.
Yeah.
Everyone right now is probably wondering how we're gonna implement ChatGPT for Omni into our analyst pool. Change is constant. I think the critical elements around embracing innovation is to have honest self-awareness around what our strengths are and where the opportunities are. That is, and what's going to stick around as change, what is going to impact our customers. So what I'd say around the innovation is having honest self-awareness, a little bit of courage, and a pragmatic eye. So for example, we're not going to be great at making consumer electronics hardware.
Right.
Even though that might be a hot thing. And we're not going to be, or at least I should say we're not going to be great at that. That's not the historical and current legacy of what we're great at. So it's, being pragmatic about what are our strengths, what are the things that we do better than anyone else in the world, and applying it towards the things, honestly, that we think we can make the world a better place at. Yeah. Things that are changing.
I like that. And as I think about your perspective, right? And I know you're humble about this, but you've been on lots of boards, exposure to many successful companies. You have a unique perspective, and that's part of why I wanted to kind of share our discussion with everyone at KLAS today. From that perspective, what are the elements that are different about KLAS? And I want you to be unflinching here, like, good or bad, interesting, unique. What do you see as different? That you see.
So I've been involved in, I don't know, maybe certainly dozens, maybe hundreds of businesses in some form or fashion, lots of boards, public, private, large, small. It is, so KLAS is highly unusual for its consistency of culture over an extended period of time. We were the number one rated KLAS company, even beating out Epic for a few years there, 20 some years ago. But we did that for 5 years.
Yeah.
There are companies that will be very steady and be the best place to work for 7 years. It's been a long time, 27 years. It's still fresh. There's a beautiful new place. We're still attracting incredible talent. We're addressing current problems. The character and the culture is highly unusual. I think so that's one thing that's really unusual. The business model and the brand and the place that KLAS has developed, and the recognition and the trust that that KLAS has in the marketplace is, in business terms, you could call that a moat. The moat around a castle. How much would a company have to spend if they were going to plunk it down right now to try and establish the level of trust that the market has in KLAS?
Yeah.
Be a lot of money.
And could you even do that with a lot of money, right?
Yeah, it's so I think that, those are, you notice I didn't say anything there about, our report structures or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's the culture, it's the relationship with the market, the trust.
Yeah.
And that yields things that are non-replicable advantages. So the relationships that we have with inaccessible people in the market and the information they give us, that doesn't exist actually anywhere else in the world. And it's frankly cost prohibitive or maybe even impossible to get. So those are some really unique attributes for KLAS.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that. I mean, your perspective is really unique on that and valuable for us. That's why it's so great to have you on the board. I have the privilege every quarter of spending time with Alan, and it's always vibrant discussions. We've been meeting all morning today, as a matter of fact, and they're fun discussions. I have one last question for you, and that is, as you think of, that we're a company of, over 200 teammates, and you know what we're trying to achieve. Even you've seen kind of our strategic plans. What advice would you give to everybody at KLAS as we're pursuing kind of our mission in healthcare?
So I typically don't give advice. I make it a practice to share experiences and make observations. So I don't know the specific person. I would say KLAS has gone through remarkable kind of journey and growth. It's had growth and profitability for 27 straight years, which is an incredible record. It's incredibly financially durable and sustainable. And going forward, I would say it is the tip of the iceberg, what it is that the brand is able to accomplish. Maybe aside from climate change and food production, health and of humans is the biggest market opportunity on the planet.
Yeah.
And there's nothing about KLAS that says, hey, we're only talking about hospital-based EMRs, which is what they were talking about 25 years ago.
Right.
Or it wasn't even EMRs, hospital-based lab information systems. It's the trust and the integrity of execution and the curiosity. I would say be mindful that you have a very very uncommon position through the brand trust that you have with the largest market in the world. You have a very long history of culture that is very consistent, and that's exciting. The opportunity ahead, we don't know what's going to happen with AI, holograms, what's going to happen in different countries, what's going to happen in the US with healthcare. The opportunity is pretty endless, and the assets that we have are the people, the culture, the trust, and the brand. Those are pretty expandable. So I would say don't sell yourself short.
That's terrific. I love it. And a great note to conclude on. Thank you so much for joining me for this conversation. I'm glad that KLAS got a chance to meet you today. Looking forward to those opportunities you talk about. I think there's a lot for us. And I have to share one more thing with you. that they may cut in production. As you talked about beating Epic all those years ago, it reminded me of the band that beat Beyonce in Star Search at the beginning of her career. I figured you'd appreciate that as somebody from Houston. It's, you know, I'm sure that band has it hung on their wall. We beat Beyonce and you beat Epic, so congrats on that win.
Thanks.
Thanks, Alan.